generations are patients. This is absentee, Yankee, Mike, and uniform.
This is just the beginning. This is the beginning, and I've been the best predictor of things ever. Now, if these people aren't smart, and they're not, our leaders are not smart. If they're not smart, you can end up in a nuclear war. We'll end up in a World War III.
Для защиты России и нашего народа мы, безусловно, используем все имеющиеся в нашем распоряжении средства. Это не блеф.
But if our people aren't smart, you can end up in a nuclear war.
By 2023, we will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%.
There is a world war being waged, and it's raging right now. And no one is safe. It's a war of inversion and a full assault against humanity. It's relentless and takes place simultaneously in every sphere of our lives. The line has been drawn where there is the East and the deep state in the West. Then we have their institutions like the WEF, the World Economic Forum, the UN, the IMF, the World Bank, and the SWIFT system with their finance. That's the army of the West ruled by the most powerful corporations and most secretive organizations now with so-called public-private partnerships. With the East are Russia and China. They don't mind nationalizing everything. They're organizations like Brixias, the Shanghai Co-op Organization, which is trying to dethrone the dollar now, and the cross-border interbank payment system, which is now their answer to SWIFT. They have OPEC, Huawei, TikTok, and everything in the arsenal. All of the oil companies in Russia and all of the companies in China were nationalized. Here we'll have some private ownership of giant corporations, but again, it'll be a public-private partnership. The historical difference now is that both sides are Axis and Axis power because nobody's fighting for freedom. Both sides want to control the land, control the food supply in great detail, control energy, and control finance. And your dollar, your money, they will control all of that, which basically adds up to control you. And then there is the third party, and that is the freedom people. Those people are not at the table. Those people are in the streets right now, and no one is listening to them, and everyone is labeling them crazy. You are the allied force, and there are people like you all over the world, ordinary people all over the world that are speaking out. The wizards behind the curtain are creating chaos and disorder on an unprecedented scale with the goal of rebuilding a new global and totalitarian society from the rubble of destruction. Recent meetings of the World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, World Government Summit, and Bilderberg Group have brought together many of the main conspirators and a host of other toadies eager to change the course of history in their favor. You are in the crosshairs of all of their attacks, as they have declared war on everything once thought of as good, just, and normal. They completely despise your freedom, individuality, and independence. They loathe law and order and seek to circumvent all governing principles that stand in their way, including the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. They want to restrict your speech, movement, thoughts, and even what you eat. They consider you as a useless eater that is redounded and expendable. At least 4 billion useless eaters shall be eliminated by the year 2030 by any means like limited wars, organized epidemics of fatal rapid-acting diseases, and starvation. Energy. Food and water shall be kept at subsistence levels. They were looking to use food, energy, and finance to use as a boot to make all of that happen. Russia was seen as one of their major hurdles, so Deep State made Ukraine their jihad back in 2014 and 2015. They took it upon themselves to overthrow and then rebuild Ukraine, assisted by people like George Soros. Keep in mind the timing of all of this. Ukraine turns away from Russia, and that coincided with the initial phase of the Great Reset. Orwell's 1984 ain't got nothing on what is being done here. Control the food, control the energy, control the money, control the people. Look at this. Food crisis and the energy crisis are man-made by these people. Also inflation, a new system for investment, trade, and infrastructure. And now the second phase, they are trying to provoke Russia into a full-scale war over Ukraine in order to provide sufficient chaos as a cover for the planned global reset debt bomb implosion. They also need a war in order to justify medical martial law, gun confiscation, and supply chain failures while suspending the 2022 midterm elections and keeping the Biden puppet masters in power for as long as possible. U.S. Senator Hu on CNN News implied that the U.S. military could launch a surprise nuclear attack on Russia. This sort of talk invites Russia to attack us first if Putin becomes convinced that the U.S. would launch a surprise attack of its own. Why? For starters, because the deep state are traitors and sellout. They deliberately want to cause America to fail for their own benefit. They all are the Axis. You are the allied force. And there are people like you all over the world, farmers all over the world that are speaking out. It started 8 or 9 years ago, but nobody talked to you about it because you're really not in the plan. You are. Well, I hope you won't be considered a useless eater, but that is actually on their agenda and in their plans. What do we do? Are we worthless and useless eaters? We are used to living relatively easy everyday lives, with healthcare, telecommunication systems, grocery stores bulge with huge assortments of fresh foods, developed transportation, and our cities linked by an elaborate and fairly well-maintained system of roads, freeways, rails, canals, seaports, and airports. So all of this led the majority of the world's population to live in the cities. But the downside to all this abundance is overcomplexity, overspecialization, and overly long supply chains. Today, less than 2% of the population is engaged in agriculture or fishing. Ponder that for a moment. Just 2% of us are feeding the other 98%. The food on our tables often comes from hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. Our heating and lighting are typically provided by power sources hundreds of miles away. For many people, even their tap water travels that far. Our factories produce sophisticated cars and electronics that have subcomponents that are sourced from 3 continents. The average American comes home from work each day to find that his refrigerator is well stocked with food. His lights come on reliably. His telephone works. His tap gushes pure water. His toilet flushes. His paycheck has been automatically deposited to his bank. His garbage has been collected. His house is a comfortable 70 degrees. His televised entertainment is up and running 24/7, and his internet connection is rock solid. We've built a very big machine that up until now has worked remarkably well, with just a few glitches. But let's consider that the big machine is grinding to a halt. Consider that a world war is being waged right now, and it's raging more and more, with its implications already spread around the globe, already devastating millions of ordinary lives and businesses everywhere. Now realize that Russian President Vladimir Putin hinted that nuclear war was on the table. We have to thrust into a new awareness. Imagine this. Phones go dead. Anything running with computer technology, cars, radios, televisions, is dead. We don't feel this blast, but we might see it in the sky. A sudden bright flash before our electronic world goes dark. The second phase of the attack starts somewhere deep inside Russia's interior. A single SS-27 missile ignites its engines, rising slowly, a fiery plume pushing the rocket's 100,000-pound mass into the air. It quickly accelerates to supersonic speeds, reaching more than 16,000 miles per hour before its warhead is released. The warhead, with the explosive power of 1 million tons of TNT, hits 2,000 miles per hour upon re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Its journey from the launch site to the target is a mere 30 minutes. 10,000 feet above the city, the weapon detonates with a blinding flash. The resulting fireball is 15 million degrees, hotter than the sun's core. The fireball vaporizes anything within 3/4 of a mile of ground zero. All of the skyscrapers, bridges, apartment blocks, stadiums, and other structures within the inner dispersal loop are gone. No living thing within a mile of the detonation survives. The energy released by the explosion creates a massive blast wave. Close to ground zero, brick, concrete, and stone buildings are heavily damaged or even flattened. Farther away, the strongest structures survive, but lesser buildings, houses, apartments, shopping centers, and smaller offices are destroyed or heavily damaged. All this damage takes place within seconds as a mushroom cloud begins its ascent, reaching altitudes of more than 60,000 feet. The heat generated by the bomb brings devastation. Flammable building materials, vehicles, and more ignite. As the fires coalesce, a firestorm erupts, then intensifies as the blazes suck in oxygen from miles around. The fires create their winds, and the cycle of burning destruction continues until the materials that fuel it are consumed. The explosion reveals another horror: thermal radiation. Anyone within 7 miles of ground zero would suffer third-degree burns, provided they weren't underground or otherwise sheltered. The ground impact has other, more immediate hazards. While much of the fallout, radioactive particles that are launched into the atmosphere, then fall back to the ground. Radioactive particles picked up by prevailing winds blanket suburban and rural communities downwind, contaminating water supplies. The attack instantly kills more than 20,000 people. Tens of thousands more suffer severe injuries. Flying debris and collapsing buildings result in broken bones, head trauma, lacerations, internal injuries, and more. High radiation and fires leave tens of thousands with severe burns. Those exposed to the explosion's light flash, many times brighter than the sun, suffer temporary or even permanent blindness. And in the coming hours, radiation sickness, vomiting, hair loss, internal bleeding, and so on, sets in for thousands more. In this mass casualty environment, one of the nearby hospitals is gone. 2 more are heavily damaged or destroyed. Others on the city's outskirts are intact, but none have power. Only the most basic forms of medical treatment are available, and even then, there are too few people to administer it, and not nearly enough supplies. Thousands more soon die due to a lack of medical attention for their immediate injuries, or they succumb to infections and radiation sickness. In a full-scale attack, this is a scene that visits scores or even hundreds of communities across the country. Stricken communities need extraordinary help, but none is coming. In the weeks, months, and years to come, the aftermath of a nuclear exchange brings other disasters that threaten supplies of food and clean water worldwide. It's hard to say what happens from there, but many experts predict, at best, a difficult existence for survivors. At worst, it's all she wrote for our species. This is the reality of nuclear war. We knew this during the Cold War, and though the anxiety over a nuclear holocaust has been on the wane for 3 decades, the threat still lurks in missile silos in North Korea and at launch sites in India, Pakistan, and Israel. And of course, in the US, Russia, China, and Europe. Now let us consider that high-altitude nuclear detonations can generate EMP blast that has the potential to damage or destroy electronic devices over widespread areas. So let me tell you another scenario. The power is out. It is a minor annoyance. At first, you've awoken late on a winter morning because your alarm clock didn't go off. The house is chilly, and even though you have a natural gas furnace, the digital thermostat is not working, so there is no electricity for the heater fan to push the air through the ducts. Then you realize that with nighttime lows in the single digits and daytime highs in the 20s, if the power isn't restored by the time you get home from work, it will be very cold in the house. You surmise that freezing rain must have knocked down some power lines. For breakfast, You have cold cereal and juice instead of scrambled eggs and hot coffee. When will that power come back on? You muse about how long the food in the freezer will last. You skip shaving because you are running late for work and your electric razor won't work without power anyway. Then your car won't start. The car radio doesn't work either. You notice that one of your neighbors is poking and prodding around under the hood of his car. The cold weather must have killed his battery too. You hear what must be a truck backfiring far in the distance. At least somebody got theirs started. You go into the house and turn on your transistor radio. It won't work either, which is odd, since it is both AC and battery operated. Your kid must have switched the batteries with dead ones from his digital camera. Finally, you dig out your spare transistor radio from the battered ammo, can that you use as a fishing tackle box, the one you take on your fly fishing trips. You scan through the AM and FM bands. There is mostly static. There is only one radio station broadcasting. A frantic news announcer says something about a high-altitude electromagnetic pulse, EMP, over the Midwest, and the power grids being down all over the United States, Mexico, and Canada. You are startled to hear loud, rapid-fire gunshots. They are very close by, right near your neighborhood. This is going to be a very bad day. Does this scare you? Sure it does, and it should. The implications are huge, but it gets worse. Let's say the meltdown continues for weeks or months on end. What will you do when the food is gone and there is no reasonably immediate prospect of resupply? The average suburban family has only about a week's worth of food in their pantry. Supermarket shelves will be stripped bare. Faced with the prospect of staying home and starving or going out, millions of Americans will be forced to go out and forage for food. The first likely targets will be restaurants, stores, and food distribution warehouses. As the crisis deepens, not a few foragers will soon transition to full-scale looting, taking the little that their neighbors have left. Next, they'll move on to farms that are in close proximity to cities. A few looters will form gangs that will be highly mobile and well-armed, ranging deeper and deeper into farmlands, running their vehicles on surreptitiously siphoned gasoline. Eventually, their luck will run out, and they will all die of the flu or of lead poisoning. But before the looters are all dead, they will do a tremendous amount of damage. You must be ready for a coming crisis. Your life and the lives of your loved ones will depend on it. You need to be able to provide water, food, heating, and lighting for your family. Ditto for law enforcement, since odds are that you'll be on your own. Most important, you'll need to be prepared to hunker down for 3 or 4 months with minimal outside contact. With the information and instructions contained in my books, you can prepare yourself to live independently, off the grid, for an extended period of time. Self-sufficiency is the bottom line. My books provides both a challenge and a response. Are you truly ready for the end of the world? If not, then herein is what you'll need to know. I will focus on specific criteria for how to stock up and equip for self-sufficiency. With the right preparation, you can protect your family from numerous threats, so you can not only survive but thrive. Things that you take for granted will suddenly become labor-intensive. False assumptions will be shattered, but as you regroup and tailor your plan using my books, your list of lists should include better yourself and construct confidence, stock up supplies, and be self-sufficient. Defend yourself, your family, and your home. Make a transportation and communication plan. Financial strategies. Learn about energy options and what weapons to consider. Holistic and alternative medicine, and many more. The end of the world may never happen in your lifetime, but what if it does? What if anarchy upraise, or nuclear and chemical war occurs, earthquake or hurricane, government and social unrests with food and water shortages? You have to have the mindset that anything can happen. Everything that occurs for a reason. And occasionally, one thing leads to another. Rather than locking yourself away and weeping in cluelessness, you can be ready and prepared to face it head-on. Take actions that allow you to feel safe, secure, and ready for the future, no matter what it may bring. What if I can offer you a solution that will help you to achieve that, to attain greatness, to become a success, and realize your potential, giving you the guidelines and information to survive, and be able to keep your family safe, and to help them thrive in spite of all odds. In this book, you will learn how to prepare and survive. This is the vital and essential knowledge for the most dangerous and desperate times, and it is the most important investment you will ever make because of one very important thing that you may have already realized. That money will become useless. Its value will become zero because people will need other stuff to survive. And that is knowledge and skills. These will be worth more than gold. And I don't know if you've noticed, but nothing just falls from the sky. God helps you, but He does not lay it on your table. You have to work hard and do things yourself. If you care about your safety, if you really want your family to be secure and are willing to do what it takes to do that, this is the option for you. Click the Order Now button right now.